Hi, I'm Lisa Medved, and this is my presentation for Barriers to Web 2.0. We were given several articles to review and digest, and so I'm going to begin with a summary of those articles. The largest article gave a lot of information as to the status and the problems with technology implementation in schools and districts. So it said that, technology use has gradually increased with equipment in schools, equipment in classrooms, and also schools are popping up that have a focus primarily on technology. However, they quote a study in the article that says that integration of technology resources into instruction has neither increased test scores nor improved instructional quality. So, why is that? Well, it is because technology is still absent in many schools, or if it is present in the schools, it is not being used to its fullest capacity. So the other articles and the larger article looked at why that is. What is the cause, some of the causes behind the lack of integration or adoption of technology into education, and what also is adding to the inefficient use of that technology. So the barriers to technology integration and adoption was seen in several of the articles. One was if there's a lack of vision, a lack of a plan, or lack of administrative support for technology integration or adoption at the administrative level, then the odds of it being implemented are very slim. There's a lack of funding for technology. Often curriculum and other things come first. A couple of the articles mention the lack of time, both for training, for implementation, learning it, but then also we read an article on open educational resources, and as I read that, I thought, boy, this is taking up a lot of time, this new trend to use free curriculum, and not only to use it, in many cases to write it. So the time that could be used toward technology training, integration into lessons and so forth is being used searching for, adapting, and developing these free curriculum that are being used lately. Another barrier to technology integration or adoption is infrastructure, lack of Wi-Fi in schools, lack of broadband, high-speed internet in rural areas, and also it's a barrier when if you have it at the school but the kids don't have it in homes because they live in lower income areas where they can't afford the higher speed internet. That's a barrier too to implementing it into schools. If it is in schools, then some of the technology isn't being used efficiently or effectively, which may lead to the stagnant test scores or lack of improvement in instruction. Some of the technology, according to a couple of the articles, in lower income schools is used more for sort of a drill and practice, whereas in more affluent schools, technology is used in more problem-solving situations. Changing teacher roles is also could be also an explanation as to the ineffective or inefficient use of technology. You have it, but if the teacher is still treating the classroom in the traditional way with sort of a teacher-centered, lecture-driven classroom, the technology isn't going to be used effectively. The changing roles where a teacher is more of a facilitator and an idea generator, a guide to using some of that technology is better use of it if it's going to be used correctly. Also, teachers claim that there is a lack of training for teachers, and therefore the technology is inefficient or ineffective because they don't know how to use it. So, do I feel like the digital divide can be resolved? I think that the digital divide can be improved, but not resolved necessarily. First, I don't think there's ever going to be enough funding. There's always, everybody has a project, a pet project. Everyone has priorities. And the funding, I think, is going to always be lacking. So I think that's a sticking point there for funding, not only for schools and districts, but also for residents as well in low-income areas. I understand from the articles that the universal fee for that you pay along with your internet bill is used to go towards some of the programs that help to fund internet in these rural areas, or the E-rate program in schools. And I think that those fees could be used, even increased a little bit, but consumers will only tolerate increased fees to a point, and then at that point, they will not continue to use the internet either. It might even make the divide larger. Technology is always changing is another reason why I think that, some of the couple previous points, you can improve it a little bit with some funding, but it's always changing. And so there's always going to be something new or needed that you just can't continually add all the time. I do think that it can be improved by using partnerships with businesses to provide equipment and funds for schools and districts in order to give more access to technology and a better use for it. So I think it can be improved, but I don't know that it can be resolved. The skill set for 21st century students that I think they must acquire prior to graduation, I chose from the article Barriers to Using Web 2.0 in 21st Century Schools. I chose these 6 skills that are listed here on the screen because they have to do with thinking, and they have to do with skills and different talents that can be honed. I did not think and do not think that training in technology is necessary for students prior to graduation. I think use of technology to improve these critical thinking or problem solving, maybe creativity or innovation, those types of things, technology can be very helpful. But initiative and self-direction, I'm not sure that it can be the guide. It might be a motivator, but it's not going to help students improve their initiative or improve their responsibility. So I think these 6 skills are essential, and students will be able to acquire the technology skills needed for college or their career choices as they move forward. I think anyone probably around my age might feel the same way, in that email was just coming around when I got my bachelor's, and technology has changed so much in the years that I have taught that I am able to adapt and change and use some initiative and problem solving to help me use technology. So I think students of this generation will be so much better than me at that, and I have been, I would say, proficient. So the global economy has had a huge impact on my personal use of the internet. I was on the internet quite a bit prior to probably 2008 or so, just for banking and things. But in the last few years, it has exploded. I use it for shopping. I use it for entertainment, for learning. Obviously, I'm on online classes for my master's degree, I actually did CPR renewal online. And then socially, to keep up with my family and friends, I use the internet for email and social networking and that type of thing. So the global economy said, I think, primarily in the shopping and the entertainment and the learning and finance areas, has had just an enormous impact on my personal use of the internet. Technology training that I still need to effectively integrate technology in my current position. I would like some training on intervention programs that are technology based and websites that I could use for intervention with my third grade students. I have quite a range from a very gifted student that's probably performing at high school levels to a student that is in a pre-primer reader. So I have quite a range, and because I have so many needs, that I would really like some training on effective programs and how to use those to help to meet the individual needs of the 24 kids in my room. I do have iPads in my room, and I use them for applications that are sort of daily. They're more, it's more of a tool. But I would like to have some more training on how to use that for learning to also address some of the higher level thinking. I do have a smartboard in my room as well, and right now I use it always as a projector screen, and sometimes I use it during math and write on it and use the smart ink, but I know there's a lot more that I can do with it. I have downloaded a few interactive games for review, but I know that there's more I could do with it and be more effective and efficient with that. My school is equipped with 21st century technology. It's a charter school, and when I got there, there was a smart board and ceiling mounted projectors and classroom computers and iPads and computer carts for classes to share, and everyone could be on the internet all at one time. I came from a district where I had a pull down screen and an overhead projector, meaning where I put the transparencies on, and a computer that was not a laptop. So I also, at my new school, have a laptop. So it is equipped with 21st century technology, not as much as some of the other technologies we read about in our previous module, but it is, I think it's pretty well equipped. We get most of it funded through our school budget and fundraisers, mostly for the iPads. So the advantages of innovative practices in schools, I think there's quite a few. I think that innovative practices in schools can make instruction more effective and more efficient. You can be more effective in your lessons and what the students retain and understand, and more efficient in the way it's delivered. That in turn improves student achievement. I think innovative practices, regardless of what they are different. And so kids enjoy that for the most part. They enjoy being in that class. So student morale improves. I think it adds to more practice with critical thinking, higher level thinking opportunities. And I think that it also allows for ease in differentiated instruction, which is always important. The disadvantages I see, I think that innovation brings change, and change can be good, but it can, if it's too frequent, it can be too difficult. That will bring down teacher morale. I think that innovation can integrate too much technology and take the place of good instruction. And disadvantages is always funding for the equipment and training, time for training and funding for training. I have not experienced cyberbullying or other internet use issues with students personally, but I am in a K-12 school, and I have done some administrative hours dealing with some behavior issues, and at all levels, I have heard from the other administrators that there have been inappropriate photos, inappropriate texts, trying to access inappropriate websites, and one student even accessing the electronic gradebook to change grades. So that is more of a problem, I think, in the middle school and high school, but I wouldn't put it past elementary students either. So that is my presentation, and thank you for listening.